What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today it's time to look at EX-03 and the most expensive cards that can be found from boxes of EX-03. That is, of course, the new set which just came out over in Japan, Dragon's Roar, but now we have a rough idea of pricing. I should mention what we're looking at here is buy prices from a Japanese shop, which means that they're going to sell them for a little bit more, but it does give a nice indication of exactly roughly what we're looking at. And if nothing else, it's a nice comparison. So starting off then, what we've got here, there really are 4 cards that are far and above anything else seen in the set by a big margin, and we might as well start off with the number 1 card in the set. That is your Imperialdramon Fighter Mode Alternate Art. Now, firstly, this is just a cool card. People like Imperialdramon. But it's also worth pointing out it is one of 2 secret rares, and judging by the price, it is either the more popular or the better secret rare. It digivolves as a 2 cost from a card whose name contains Dragon Mode, and it's got piercing, and when digivolving you can return an Imperialdramon Dragon Mode from your Digivolution cards to the bottom of its owner's deck, and then you don't activate any security effects on cards you check for the turn. Quite useful. And on deletion you can play a Wormmon and a Vmon from your trash without paying their memory cost. There's all kinds of Jogress evolution hopefully before you get to Imperialdramon Fighter Mode, so playing the 2 level 3s totally works here. Now, the alternate art of this is coming in at around about 6,000 yen, which is, you know, for a Digimon card that can just be pulled from a pack, that's pretty high. You're talking about $45 or around about £37. And this is as high as it gets, with a few rare exceptions, like the ridiculously rare cards pulled from boxes. You don't get much more expensive than this in Digimon, because the game is printed highly, because the pull rates are never that terrible, with the obvious exceptions. Then this is about as high as we get. And actually the number 2, well, we'll get there in a minute, alright? But it's also worth mentioning that the regular version of Imperialdramon Fighter Mode comes in at 5,000 yen, which is not that much less. So we're talking somewhere in the region of around about $37 or around about £31. And what this basically tells us is that this is a card where people want the card because the secret rares and the alternate art secret rares aren't that far away in terms of pull rate. Obviously there is a difference, but having 1,000 yen difference between the cards is pretty telling. It means that it's not a case of the alternate art is that much different in terms of pull rate or in terms of how much people want it. People are either buying it because it's playable or because they love the Digimon, or it's just that the pull rates aren't that different because honestly there isn't that much of a difference between them. Although, let's be clear, the alternate art is a fair bit rarer. My point is, it's not that much rare enough to justify a bigger price difference. I'm hoping that makes sense. Now, the second most expensive card is, in my opinion, some of the best Digimon TCG art we've ever seen. It is the alternate art of Examon. Now, Examon as a Digimon I have no real love for like that, but this alternate art is a thing of absolute stunning beauty. Now, it comes in at 5,500 yen, so exactly halfway between the 2 prints of Imperialdramon. You're talking around about $41, or you're talking around about £34. And again, we've got a secret rare alternate art, which is, you know, as rare as cards get, outside of the obvious exceptions. And what we've got is DNA Digivolution from a level 6 green and a level 6 blue. When digivolving, you can place a green or blue Digimon card with Dramon in its name from your hand to the bottom of this Digimon's Digivolution cards. And when DNA Digivolving, you can play a green or blue Digimon with Dramon in its name and 12,000 power or less from your hand for free, which is pretty gosh darn ridiculous. And on all turns, when this Digimon becomes suspended, you unsuspend it and suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, which is really kind of good. We like this. And it's worth noting that again we have a 1,000 yen difference between the regular and the alternate art. So we got 4,500 for the regular, which comes in about $34 and about £28. And if you haven't seen my opening of the EX-03 yet, the Japanese box, go check it out now, because big spoiler alert, somehow I pulled both the alternate art secret rares, and I still don't exactly understand how that happened. It was weird. Now, there are 3 or 4 other cards which are worth mentioning here. The alternate art of Metalgreymon comes in at 2,500 yen. So 2,500 yen, you're talking somewhere in the region of about $18, $19, call it $19, and about £15. What is interesting, though, is the regular art of Metalgreymon. It's like 400 yen, which is basically nothing. And there's a very good reason for this. Hina's in the artwork. And I can't see any other reason for this. It's not that Metalgreymon isn't an interesting card, alright? Metalgreymon is an interesting card. It's one of the cards I really like from the set. It is a super rare, and on play you de-Digivolve 1 all of your opponent's Digimon. Then you delete a Digimon with a play cost of 5 or less, but if you didn't, because you couldn't, then all of your opponent's unsuspended Digimon can't Digivolve until the end of their next turn. Plus, on your opponent's turn, if you've got a Tamer in play, you get that wonderful combination of Blocker and Reboot. It's a really cool card. But when I told you that, the secret rares, there's a 1,000 yen difference between the regular and the full art, here, the alternate art is basically 6 times the price of the regular. And the only real way to explain that is because Hina's in the artwork. And we can actually see the exact same thing going on with Volcanicdramon. Now, this one is not seen as quite as good a card. We've got 1,500 yen here. 1,500 yen, if we put that into currencies you guys might use a bit more often, you're talking about $11 or around about £9. And it's a cool card. When you play, you delete all of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest power. And if no Digimon was deleted by this effect, your opponent cannot play Digimon with a cost of 5,000 or less until the end of your opponent's turn. Clearly a good skill. Oh yeah, and when attacking, if you've got a Tamer in play, you trash the top card of your opponent's security. And obviously these cards work very well together. But the regular art is 300 yen, which is tiny. But once again, the alternate art has Hina in the artwork, and that really is how we explain the vast difference in price. And it really is as simple as that. We've got 2 cards that are wildly more expensive than their super rare counterparts, and the answer is Hina's in the artwork. But this is where things get interesting. This should be the part of the video where I talk to you about how full art Hina is crazy expensive, etc, etc. For some reason, I don't really know, the shops I'm looking at aren't buying it. They've not got this down on their buy list. Maybe that's because they've got too many? I'm not entirely sure. But just as a side note here, please don't imagine that Full Art Hina is not going to be one of the most sought after cards in the set. It definitely is. There is no way we get through this set and Full Art Hina doesn't become one of the more sought after cards. That kind of has to happen. So, no, it's not on this list, and no, I can't really give you much of a price right now. I'm sorry, this doesn't usually happen. Generally, it's pretty easy to see because the shops are just buying all of the cards. Right now, there's a gigantic gap in their buy list. For some reason, they're not buying this. But once again, please don't think this means that it's not a particularly sought after card or that nobody really wants it. I can't imagine for a second that that's actually true. But for some reason, it's not there on the buy list. But I expect it to be among the most popular cards. And then just to finish off with a couple of others, Imperialdramon Dragon Mode comes in at 1,500 yen. Which is, when we did 1,500 yen a minute ago, didn't we? So we're talking about $11 or around about £9. And this can largely be explained with it's Imperialdramon Dragon Mode and people love Imperialdramon. Worth pointing out that the regular art here is only 400 yen. But Imperialdramon is one of the more popular Digimon. There is a reason why Imperialdramon just keeps getting printed in the game. It gets printed way more than your average Digimon. There isn't a Hina or anything like that in the artwork of the card, so I'm slightly taken aback by the difference in price. But then again, we are still talking about an alternate art super rare of a very popular Digimon, so that might be the only explanation we need. This one can DNA Digivolve from a purple and red level 5. When Digivolving, if you DNA Digivolve, your opponent chooses one of their Digimon, and then you destroy all of your opponent's other Digimon, and then you get Blitz, so you can attack even if your turn should be ending because the turn passed over with memory. And when attacking once per turn, this Digimon gets an extra 2000 power for the turn, and then it can Digivolve into an Imperialdramon fighter mode in your hand for its Digivolution cost. So when we look at it as a whole, it's pretty gosh darned clear. The secret rares and the alternate arts thereof are by far the top cards in the set in terms of value, and it really isn't close. We've then got the alternate arts with Hina on and the alternate art of Imperialdramon Dragon Mode that are very relevant cards, and although it's not on the list, I refuse to believe that Hina will not end up on the list because it's full art Hina, and if the alternate arts of these Digimon are becoming, highly sought after and expensive because they've got Hina in the artwork, surely that means Hina herself needs to get up on this list. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen, that's EX-03, and honestly, I think it's a great set, but I was very spoiled with my first box. When I inevitably open more boxes, let's see how I feel about the set then. For now, I want to know what you think about the set, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk Digimon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wasi Plays.